Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 45 of the Spy Squadron podcast.
That's us.
That is us.
That's us.
Is. It's us.
Yeah, that's us.
That's us. We're the Spy Squadron podcast. You're our loyal viewers, and this is episode 45.
Do you know what episode 45 is about, James?
Haven't the foggiest.
It's about pre-releasing our inner strength and not sealing up anymore. It's about pre-release. I couldn't think of a better analogy.
It's pre-release time,
pre-release
baby.
My favorite season.
Absolutely. As we're recording this, we are 1 week away from pre-release, and we are
little gribblies on the cards.
Oh, the first time we're going to get our cards on set 2, and we are so excited.
I am excited.
What card are you excited for the most? What card? Not a leader.
Oh my gosh, not a leader?
Not a leader. What card? One card.
This is so difficult. I can't think of this most salacious big crumb.
Ooh, interesting.
I just think his art's funny, and I wouldn't mind getting a hyperspace foil of him.
Understandable. Very nice.
What about you?
But
What about you?
I don't know. I was trying to think that entire time. What did I say? Not a leader.
Rancor.
Quill.
That's fair, actually. Hyperspace foil Quill is going to look nice. But this episode, we're going to be diving in like we did in set 1 and kind of talking about what's going to be good this pre-release set. And the great thing is, unlike the set 1 video, we're a lot longer in on our YouTubing career. We've got a lot more context on the game now.
We're slightly better at stringing together actual sentences that make sense.
Slightly
Very
better.
slightly.
Don't be-
But
we are getting there. But I think this episode we're going to take you through some big bombs you want to look for.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got, how many leaders do we have?
18.
I mean, to talk about. We've got 5 generally, I think it's 5 to 5?
I think it's about 5. It's 5 or 6.
Generally consistently. Like these
We'll go over a couple of honorable mentions as well. Like, we'll talk about a few of the leaders and
but
what
we
they do.
want to talk about the most consistent strategies within Sealed for Set 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to make sure that you guys get to build your decks and win the most games to get more booster packs from your pre-releases. So we're going to be diving a bit into that. So, well, shall we? Who's first? Who's up first? Who do we want to talk about?
Who do we want to talk about first? Let's talk about my personal pick for one of the best leaders for pre-release, and that is Rey Skywalker.
Oh boy. Well, it's just Rey at this point. Not Skywalker just yet. I mean,
I've just annoyed our entire audience by saying that.
well, I genuinely thought she would have that text.
Yeah, me too.
And I was ready for it. I was like, that's fine.
Rey is
good,
nutty.
Great.
One of the biggest things about pre-release is you're going to be looking for those little guys.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to get a turn 1 play. It's important to be able to get all those little guys in, and Rey just makes them be for bonkers.
Yeah, Rey is just good. Like, Rey is just straight up actually really good. There is so many units in this set that have 2 or less power, and having Restore 3 on a leader in Sealed is insane. Like, frankly,
nuts.
it's nuts. I think that she's probably the best Sealed leader, and definitely one to look out for, because all you have to do is build up your board a little bit, maybe play a bit of early game Sentinel, and then flip.
Yeah. You do not need a lot of blue to play her. You can easily run a lot of another color. Yeah. All you are looking for is weenies, and that is what you're looking for anyway to build a deck with.
And she's a common. She's a common leader too.
She's a common leader too. Expect to see her a lot in pre-release. I think she's definitely one of the better leaders to be.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you can get sealed packs where you're just not going to be able to run her.
Yeah.
But
that's why we're covering off a few.
A lot of the time. She's going to be absolutely fantastic.
I think a couple of cards that work really good in her, we've already talked about it. Quill is actually really good in Sealed. Like, yeah, the draw is not as consistent, but just getting any draw when you can is
even if you get
really
no draw,
good.
he's a 2-cost, 2/3 restore one.
And you can make it a 3/4. Nima Outpost, love those guys.
Oh, dude, you get Nima Outpost and you are good.
A 3/7 Sentinel is actually insanely hard to deal with in Constructed.
Yeah.
It's nuts to deal with in Sealed.
And the fact that it's got 7 health that you have to get through, and one of the only, it pretty much dodges all removal in the set.
Yep.
Calculated Authority only does 3 costs.
Calculated Lethality is only 3. Yep.
And Fell the Dragon is 5 power.
Yep.
so it dodges both
Most
of
of
the
the
kind,
relevant-
like pretty much all of the actual.
Yep.
The only thing it doesn't dodge is Rivals Fall, which fun
Costs
fact,
6.
nothing dodges.
It also costs 6. So on curve, you've got your Nima outpost out for 2 turns.
Yeah, Nima
Before they waste a whole turn, Rivals falling on the same turn that Rey would come out. So like, you tell me which one of those two you'd rather
absolutely.
Rivals fall.
Nima Outpost is something to look out for. The more I talked about that, the more I realized how cooked it was.
It's really
but
good. Calculated Lethality is also starter exclusive, so you won't be seeing it floating around the field.
you will not. My apologies.
Couple of other really notable cards to go with Rey.
Mhm.
I think just interestingly enough, there's that 1-cost green 2/2 Trooper, which you can just buff
Yep.
up. You can, like, if you're lucky enough to pull it, the Kylo Legendary is nuts and sealed. That's a huge bomb for this deck specifically.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't have the villain aspect cost for the Rey deck. Another card that, if you've got it there and you've built, if you've got a lot of yellow and a lot of blue cards, don't discount this card. It will cost 5 in your deck, but a Lurking Tie. Because you pay 5 for it, it can't be removed by abilities, and then you buff it by 1 with Rey's ability, and you're swinging for 5 every turn with a unit that can't be killed unless your opponent does combat damage to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a villain unit, but it's not bad.
Yeah. Also, looking out for something like a Gentle Giant.
Oh, such a good card.
Such a good card in Rey. And then looking into green, I think one of the biggest staples that you're going to find in green is that Sundari Protector.
That card is incredible by being able to buff it twice and swinging in for 5. He'll be a 3/7 Raid 2 Restore 2, which is rough to deal with. I tell you that much.
I think it's one of the cards that if you're just playing, it is the echo base of the set. It is that card where it just turns on green heroes so hard, and it's going to be so hard to remove in this sealed environment with that 5 health.
Another good one, I think there's 2 more cards I want to talk about. A Modded Cohort is a Raid 2 2/4 ambush. So you can buff them by 1, which is pretty cool. So you
Green
ambush them
Blue
into kill
Ray
something.
looking real good here.
And then Village Protectors.
Village Protectors.
Can't say no to a 3-cost 2/2 Sentinel with shielded.
No,
Certainly
definitely
can't say
will
no
not say.
to a 3/3 shielded.
No. The other thing probably would be the Mandalorian ship Sentinel one.
Concord Dawn.
Concord Dawn Interceptor.
I think it's, Interceptor, yeah.
Yeah.
Concord Dawn Interceptors. That's really good. Follower of the Way is really nice.
Yeah.
Again, because you can play it, buff one of your units that's already been buffed, and it is a 1/2, so you can buff it twice.
Or it can
with
buff
Rey.
itself and then you can buff it again.
So Follow the Way buffing it. And then what do they call Clan Ren Challenger? Again, really good. A 1/2 that can buff another unit and get buffed itself.
Yeah,
There's just a lot of synergies that Rey has in set that make her really powerful, really fun, and really consistent. So that's why she's probably going to be the strongest leader for Sealed.
I would say so.
And
obviously, we could be wrong when
true,
throwing darts at a wall here.
but Restore 3 is probably the biggest part of that deck.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is Rey's not the threat of the deck, which is terrifying. Because if she was the threat of the deck, you go, okay, I'm going to focus really hard on removing her, and then I remove the threat, and I remove the
You're
Restore
buffing up your
3.
units here and there, they become
Yeah.
they and especially in pre-release when you can't breakpoint trade as easily, being able to do that's insanely good. So Rey is definitely up there with I would dare say she's probably the best, and I think she's pretty simple. Her game plan is play the smaller units and defend early game with your Sentinels, and then buff, and don't be afraid to trade.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty good coverage of Rey.
What would you like to talk about?
Next up, I love my lady. You've got your lady. I love my lady. We got
his
Fennec
lady.
Shand. Here she is. Absolutely love her. ECL. What does it do, James?
Gives a unit ambush when it
How
enters.
good is that?
Very good. I wish I could just pay 1 for it and have it for everything.
Congratulations, because being able to trade into pre-release is insane. There have been so many games, and I'm sure you can agree with this, where I've been sitting there, especially in Sealed or Draft, and just being like, I wish this had an ambush.
Yeah.
I wish I could ambush this in.
Absolutely. And yes, it might be 4 or less, but a lot of your deck in these sealed environments are going to be 4 or less.
A lot of games aren't going to go past it.
Yeah, and it's one of those cases where just having that ability, yes, you are playing behind curve. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those cases where just being able to ambush stuff in is just so good. Getting stuff like the Coruscant Insurgent?
Coruscant Dissonant.
Dissonant.
The 3+3/4 untap one.
Yeah, it will be huge for this deck. You pull like one or two of those, a couple other good yellow cards, and you are cruising. That card is going to put in work.
Like some notable yellow cards that work really well with it. You've got L3. It's a crafty smuggler 4 hero exclusively. Then you've got Coruscant Dissident. And then a couple of other really nice cards that work well with a Night Owl. Is it Night Owl Skirmisher?
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, Night Owl Skirmisher. Cassian, this set is insanely good in that deck. He's a 3/5 for 3. He can come in late game, smuggled out, untapped.
Yeah.
DL is so huge in that deck, just to being able to get it out there. And interestingly enough, Fennec's going to die less in this sealed environment than she will in constructed.
Because usually it's like, oh, they can just open fire it, they can just take it down. Not in a sealed environment, they can't.
There's not a lot of removal in this set, and Fennec's coming out pretty hard on curve, and you're trading a lot. Hey, you get an Enfys Nest from your packs, and you're pretty much laughing at that point. Like, that's a great pull. And then other cards like Evacuation, if your opponent starts to get ahead of you, if you're lucky enough to pull that, bounce everything, and then you can restart. When they play something, you're now ahead again because you have the pick of the litter to ambush into it.
You might be saying like, oh, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get these like legendaries, but at the end of the day, you're pulling a bunch of packs, 6 packs, right?
Packs.
So it's one of those cases where that is... the chances are you will get a legendary. So you have these legendaries are going to be in play. It's really easy in these sealed environments to discount legendaries and be like, oh, well, no one's going to have like 3 slices. It's like, okay, but they might have an Evacuate.
Yeah.
They might have a Rule with Respect. That's terrifying in this a sealed environment.
I think again, just like touching on a couple of other cards that are really good to ambush him with Fennec. Echo. You can ambush Echo in, make him a 6/6 restore 2. Once again, we'll go back to it. Sundari Protector. Ambush the Sundari Protector in.
Sundari Protector is insane. One thing that I would say do not discount is if you pull an Echo. Tech.
Oh yeah,
if
Tech's
you pull
awesome.
a Tech, being able to smuggle any card in your resources is going to be so huge. A lot of the time, one of the biggest things about pre-releases is you inefficiently use resources. Yeah. And so if you're inefficiently using resources, and usually you run out of hand and you start top decking.
Yeah. Smuggle does change that completely.
It does change that completely. A card we might not talk about later, but a card that I do want to talk about if you're going villain is the Pirate Tank. The
Sentinel?
The Sentinel, the like 6 smuggle Sentinel for like a 5/6 Sentinel or something
good
like
card.
that.
Like in sealed, that's a house.
Yeah, like I'm happy to tap 6 and just throw that out onto the field to block a couple of attacks, and I'm not using anything from hand. That's my whole, and I kind of restock.
I think
not the card.
I think just like Tech as a whole, excluded from just the Fennec thing. Just
that's what I was saying.
Bomb.
Yeah,
Tech is like if you pull a Tech in sealed and you're in hero, running. Hey, if you're not in hero, pay 5 for him.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cases where Tech can really grab a lot of attention, and even if you don't get a lot of use out of his actual ability, he will draw attacks. Yeah,
he either becomes a Sentinel or he draws your whole hand again.
Yeah,
so he's pretty awesome. But yes, Fennec is another really good one to look out for because just being able to ambush early, snowball, and get the upper hand on your opponents is kind of just victory.
And Fennec unit is just a bomb for that deck. It is absolutely massive. It is
so good.
Like Han Solo was nutty in pre-release.
Man, that was like game.
Crazy.
When someone dropped a Han Solo, you were like, well,
there's just nothing you can do. And Fennec having that kind of similar ability where at that point you're doing like 2 or 3 damage, where you can just ping things off without taking damage in return. You are more than happy to be able to do that.
So good. Now, moving on. Who's next?
Next, I would like to talk about Boba Fett.
Ooh, Daimyo?
Daimyo.
Daimyo?
A lot of cards this set have keywords. You are
I'd say
not
the
going
majority.
the majority.
With
You are
Smuggle being in the game now.
absolutely. You are not going to be worried about being able to play cards with keywords, and the ability, while simple, is very, very effective. Once again, we're going to point you towards the card that we're going to point to if you're ever playing green hero and you're Sundari Protector. Put that in your deck. It's so good. It's constructed. It is hard to remove and a fantastic tempo card. In pre-release, it's gonna be.
I almost feel bad for people not playing hero.
It does. We have talked about 3 heroes, and I will
we've
say,
got one more.
As much as we're like, yeah, villain and hero are pretty like balanced in the grand scheme of things. I feel like villain, especially this set, relies a lot more on combos, on getting multiple cards together and getting like bigger combos, which that pre-release situation doesn't really allow for.
A lot of the villain's legs come from set 1 cards. Like Overwhelming Barrage, Avenger, Super Laser Blast. That's all really late game stuff that's just not in this set.
And while you can definitely run a Cad Bane deck, there's definitely enough Underworld to be able to do it. You're definitely, unfortunately, running into situations where one of the most fantastic combos, Forlom Zuckass, they're incredible, but you're not going to be getting 3 of each, right?
Yeah. I think it's important. I think one thing we should draw attention to is, and Bosk, Cad Bane, and Gar Saxon are in my opinion, the 3 biggest contenders for this set. They are going to be so strong if you get what you need for the deck. Yeah. But you need to get what you need. You need to get bounties for Bosk. If you don't get them, you can't play them. Yeah. You need to get Underworld for Cad Bane. And there's a lot of it, but there's a lot of it spread amongst the colours. Yeah,
going and picking 2 colours, you might start to run out.
And there is a lot of upgrades for Gar, but again, there are a lot in different colours, and you're not getting those. Like, if you go back and watch the gameplay, a lot of those units that were so invaluable to Gar's deck are shielded units from set 1. They're from set 1.
I think there's definitely a world where if you pull a few of those upgrades and you have a couple of those cards, you get a little bit, and you don't need to be a lot lucky. It's just a little bit of luck. A Gar Saxon deck would go absolutely hard.
Same with the CAD, but the reason we're bringing this up is because we're not talking about the what if you get this. We're trying to talk about the consistent leaders, the consistent builds.
And one of the 2 biggest ones, like, Boba as well. Boba is very good. It does require a little bit more of that, like, you need those specific things. Rey and Fennec, both of them, do not care what color you are. They do not care what
cards you have, as long as
what traits they have.
Yeah, it's just buff 2 cost or less, ambushing 4 or less.
Yeah.
Both of those abilities are insanely powerful because they're not restrictive. Yeah, Boba requires keywords, and there's a lot of them in the set, so it doesn't really matter. But looking at those 3 leaders in a contained environment, Boba would be harder to build than the other 2 because they just have less restriction. They just don't care. You pull a bunch of decent units and go, great, chuck them in.
Yeah,
there they are. So I think it's really, really solid, especially because Lurking Tie is going to be a huge card in Sealed. Being able to have Fennec to ambush and trade is going to be huge.
Yeah.
But going back to Boba, again, cards like Modded Cohort, being able to bump up a unit when it ambushes in. Boba Fett's armor, if you're lucky enough to get it, you're cooking with gas. You're cooking with gas there.
Yeah. It's definitely possible if you pull up Boba's armor and you've got a couple cards for it. There is 1 card in the game that deals with it, and they need to be running blue and they need to have pulled it.
All of the Wookiees. They work really good in Boba.
Yeah.
You could have the Fugitive Wookiee is a 4/3. The Roshia Tree Tender comes in as a 3/4. The Gentle Giant comes in with a 3/6. Wookiee Warrior comes in as a 3/5.
Yeah.
Like all of those Wookiees. Again, we'll probably talk a little bit more about them because frankly, it's a really good sealed package.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't
Like if
skip,
you
like
get
Ray.
them,
Ray
Ray
loves the
Wookiees.
Wookiees because they have low damage, low power, high health.
I mean, you
Love
literally
them.
played one of the leaders we're about to talk about the other week with this exact package in it.
I
and
did indeed.
It worked. Go check out the gameplay. It works so incredibly well.
Oh yeah.
And if you can just pull those pieces for that in sealed,
Mm-hmm.
you're cooking with gas.
Oh, so much gas.
So I think like Boba's really decently and generically good as well because a lot of the cards you're gonna play, you play tech, boom, he's got smuggle.
Yeah.
You're gonna play this. Oh well, great. You play L3, she got shielded.
Mm-hmm.
You play your you play Cloud Rider. It's got ambush. It's a 2-cost 4/1 ambush.
Sure is.
So there's a lot of cards in that Boba Fett deck that just work, and when he flips, your board just snowballs out of control.
No, absolutely. Everything gets that +1, and that's really, really dangerous. But what is that leader that you were going to talk about?
Well, firstly, it's Han Solo, and you know what? Playing him in pre-release, it's worth the risk.
Oh, it definitely is. Han Solo is value, and that is what you are looking for that pre-release.
Let's
You're
just get
looking
it out
for
of the
that
way.
absolute value bomb.
Let's just get it out of the way. Let's just get it out of the way right now. Just turn one Sundari Protector. It's a Battlefield Marine with Restore 2.
Oh, Lord.
In Han, it's a Battlefield Marine with Restore 2.
It really is, yeah.
Because you drop it, it's a 3/3, technically, with Restore 2.
I'll tell you what, if you drop
Just get
down,
it out of the way.
like stuff like Tarful, stuff like those big
All the
bombs that
Wookiees.
you're looking for, all the Wookiees are so huge in this deck, and they have the ability to drop down a turn earlier, which is just so huge in a sealed environment where there just isn't the removal to be able to deal with them.
Even getting Blue Barker, the big boy, like that, just getting big fella out. I'll say it as well. Again, it's a legendary if you're lucky enough to pull up Crate Dragon. You can get it out early enough in this game that it probably is gonna matter. Like, you're gonna drop Crate Dragon and your opponents are gonna go, maybe I had a chance to win, and it's just gonna go to 0.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because their rivals fall you and take 6.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy. And I had another card that I was going to talk about, but then I forgot. But yeah, absolutely. That Han Solo is absolutely
So
huge on the value side, and being able to drop those big bombs down is, as we were talking about, there just isn't enough removal in this set to be able to deal with that. And I think this is going to be one of the more interesting things of the set, whereas set 1 pre-release, there was quite a few removal cards, and even though you didn't pull them all, generally everyone kind of had some removal.
Every colour, you waylays, your asteroid sanctuaries, no good to be deads, open fires, force strokes, takedowns, true strikes,
But in sealed for set 2, it's going to be a slog.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 people punching each other in the face enough times to die.
Yeah.
It's going to be that absolute brawl that is going to be a really refreshing experience, I think, for a lot of people. I think this set 2 pre-release is going to be
so fun.
very, very exciting for a lot of people that are maybe a little bit sick of a certain blue lady.
Oh my god. But one thing Han does as well really well is he snowballs the aggro in the pre-release. He's a really good aggro leader for pre-release because he snowballs out value units earlier than your opponent.
Yeah.
And one really good thing, because in pre-release a lot of the time we get sealed cards and we have to run out of aspect cards here and there, Han softens the blow on the aspect penalty and can make more cards just generally usable.
But there are some cards that are really good into Han as well, like putting the damage on is a downside. And I feel like one card that I want to point out particularly that can go incredibly hard in the sealed environment is the Vambrace Flamethrower. Yeah, that is a card that can be absolutely huge.
That's just a good card.
It's a good card in general. In a pre-release format, it being able to essentially selectively overwhelming barrage, like in that smaller range, is going to be so huge.
Or a recurable open fight. So yeah, that card's like so good. Another card that I think is really worth mentioning for the Han deck and even the Fennec deck is Embo. 3/4, 3 cost. When he defeats a unit, heal 2 from a unit.
Yeah.
So, you ambush him in with Fennec and he can heal himself, or you can play him early with Han and just have a decent body out there. So, I think, that's pretty great, all things considered. And there is one more leader we kind of want to touch on. You have something I want.
Pre-releases do include starter leaders. This is your only chance to play them in a sealed environment, and if you're gonna pick one of them, the Gid Man's the way to go.
Pick the big G.
Yeah, Mandalorian is great, but again, kind of like Gar Saxon in a weird way, he relies so heavily on upgrades that it runs into that thing of unless you and
sealed.
To be very clear, all of the leaders are fantastic if you pull absolute godly.
That's true. If you pull everything you need for a deck, you're going to have a great time.
Oh, yeah. But Gar Saxon loves he's in a similar place to Rey, where he loves the weenies. He loves the little guys. He loves giving them +1, which those breakpoints are going to be huge.
Yeah, being able to trade early is incredible. And the reason we bring up Moff Gideon is because there are so many 3-cost or less units. Like, you look at the mercenary gunship, look at the lurking tie. Looking at all that kind of stuff, looking at all those units, you've got your Outland tie Vanguards, you've got your Outland tie, what are they called? There's a couple of them. You can even run units like Proxima. And then what is it called? Hired Muscle. The 2-1 for 1 that bounces an upgrade, and then suddenly you can swing and trade up into 3 health units.
Yeah.
Again, that's so incredible. Being able to give them Overwhelm is awesome, because especially in pre-release, being able to trade and get ahead of your opponent is so good. And you're doing damage. Plus, Moff Gideon, when he flips, he's a 3-6 Overwhelm leader. That is so good.
Absolutely. And a lot of those kind of smaller cards are going to be absolutely huge on him. A lot of those early blue Mandalorians are amazing. A lot of those, And so it's a deck that can definitely have that early game punch and really put a lot of damage on to threaten that late game. And while we are missing the stuff like
Dark Trooper.
Well, we have Dark Trooper. You're right. Well, we're missing Dark Trooper and Incinerator Trooper, which are 2 huge cards for that deck. There's plenty of little guys in those decks to be able to build a really decent Moff Gideon.
You got all the, straight up, building Moff Gideon Mandalorians is not bad. You've got Follower of the Way, Mandalorian Warrior. You've got that 3-cost 3/3 Villain Mandalorian. You've got that 2-cost 2/3 Mandalorian that has Saboteur. All of this stuff. And
let's not forget the grey Mandalorian Warrior.
Yeah.
It's definitely a huge thing that's going up. In set 1, we didn't really see a lot of grey cards being thrown in there. In set 2, we are going to see them.
There are so many good... even a grey card made... one of those promos, it was Proxima. I'm pretty sure they showed that off. And that was
if Mercenary Gunship gets pulled, I'm going to put it in that deck. There's no way. What are you going to do? Pay 4 and take it? Go on.
Okay, I'll pay 4. I would actually pay 4 and get it back.
Yeah, and be like, awesome. We just wasted...
Yeah, you just wasted 4. I'm happy to swing and trade Overwhelm into your unit and get damage anyway. That was my job. I was going to do that this turn anyway.
Exactly. So it's just one of those cases where that card is nutty in pretty much any test. I don't think there's a deck that I would pull that card and not be like...
Yeah, especially in sealed.
Yeah.
Salacious Crumb's actually really funny in the Moff Gideon too.
Yeah.
Because you can play him to heal, and he can ping units, so you can deal more damage with Overwhelm and do breakpoints. And if you ever need to, he's a 1/3 for 2. You can swing in with extra and Overwhelm. How good's that? Little crumb man.
Little crumb boy with Overwhelm. No, but Salacious Crumb is definitely a card with the lack of removal that is going to be annoying of just play, tap, bounce, ping, play, tap, bounce, ping.
If you get that in, that'd make a great house song. If you get Salacious with a Cad Bane, you're having a great time. That's such a good combo, full stop. It's a great combo in sealed. But I think if you look back on those leaders, to touch on the subject again, they're just generally good.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing that we're gonna like that's why those 5 leaders are the ones we talk about the most.
We're going to get some couple other leaders as well, because we got the time for it, so we may as well just go over a couple more. Honorable mentions. Gar Saxon, definitely an honorable mention in there. We talked about him a bit. Jabba the Hutt is an interesting one where it's going to, like, if you pull the cards that can keep you alive, it's definitely possible. If you pull 6 Salacious Crumbs, I would recommend playing Jabba because it would be funny.
I'd recommend playing Cad. If you get Cad, you get 6 crumbs. Go there like...
Oh, that's so mean.
Cad can't eat toast very well. He gets his crumbs everywhere.
If you pull a lot of Mandalorians, there's nothing wrong with going Bo-Katan.
So
I think she's going to be... That she's very, very good.
Bosk it up, baby.
Oh, boss that up, baby.
Bosk it hard. If you pull a showcase, play the showcase.
Play the showcase.
Just play
even if it is Afra.
I'd probably play Afra. She has support like Kylo's Slicer and somehow Palpatine Returns and Brutal Traditions, just to name the 3 in the set.
All different colours.
Wow.
Honestly though, if I pulled 7 Fennec Shands, I'd play Afra.
If you pull 7 Fennec Shands, I'd want to check your packs, pal. But he's got a point. If you're going to pull like that, play the leader that, and I think the biggest thing is those leaders there. If you've not really played a lot, if you're struggling to figure out what to play, or you're looking down at your pile of cards and going, I just don't know if I want to go Cad because I'm nervous, then default to those leaders because those 5 are going to be the most consistent, the most powerful in the consistency term. Yeah. If you pull like a god and get a full Cad deck, well, you're probably going to beat Rey.
Yeah.
But the difference between those two is it's going to be inconsistent. I think like Bosk, Mando, they suffer from the same things. And again, just like Cad, Jabba, same, like a lot of these leaders can be grouped up into just categories of both Bosk and Mando want the same things. Both Cad and Jabba want the same thing.
Just don't play Lando.
Yeah, don't play Mando. I said Mando, but don't play Lando.
Yeah, don't play Lando.
I love him, but
not in Sealed.
You
might be able to build a decent deck with him in Constructed.
It's even worse to destroy your resources in Sealed when you have no idea.
Somehow it got worse.
I just like another card that's actually really worth talking about. I think with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's just talk about straight gas and bombs. Diving into it with the heroes, but I think it's a Smuggler's Cache, the 1-cost hero heal 3 from your base that has Smuggle for 3. That's going to be huge in pre-release.
Absolutely. Can we talk about the MVP of Blue? One of the best Smuggle cards that we've seen. Whoa. Covert Strength. That thing is going to be absolutely nutty.
You win games off the back of that.
Oh, absolutely, you win games off the back of that.
Midnight Repairs. Honestly, guys, paying 4 for Midnight Repairs in Sealed, not going to be too bad.
Especially if you're playing harm.
I think like Covert Strength buffing your units, break pointing them is going to be nuts. And I think is Smuggler's Aid or is it Smuggler's Cache? I think Smuggler's Aid.
Smuggler's Aid.
Just being able to get that heal 3 is huge. Like I remember playing in Sealed with my blue-red IG deck and having 3 repairs in there. Yeah. Being able to just be like heal 3, heal 3, heal 3, and your opponent just goes, I can't beat you now. Yeah. And it gives you more time on the clock to get your thoughts together and get you back in the game. The fact that it has Smuggle, huge.
I think one of the cards that I would actually look for if I was playing a green villain of some sort, I would be looking for that, the elephant.
Jabba's bodyguard.
Jabba's bodyguard.
Yeah.
I think that on attack capture is going to be something that is going to be absolutely huge and is going to be something where they don't have the ability to kind of just remove it. So if they're on top, you can just go, awesome, swing at base, capture that.
I think that's it. I call him. I think of him as Chevin Bacon because his races they're called Chevin. So I can't remember him as anything other than Chevin Bacon. But I think that's really interesting. And why don't we just break it down into like a few quick segments? We'll talk about if you see them want to run in the Smuggle, if you see them want to run in the Bounty, and if you see what's run in the Capture, because I think Capture is a huge mechanic in Sealed. But a couple of notable Smuggle cards for me. I mean, we've already talked about him. Tech. Smuggler's Aid. and this is a huge one. If you're running yellow, I want you to look for this card. Hotshot DL44. If you can pay 3 and smuggle this out to get +2/+0 and attack your opponent before they even prepare for it,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's so huge. That is so big.
Not to be underestimated and not to be thrown away because it's a red card. And I think that's one of the big things to keep in mind about Smuggle. There are cards that have different aspects.
Absolutely.
There's a couple of them, and there is reasons to be like, I'm going to use that, I'm just going to resource it, and I'm going to use it for its Smuggle. Even though I'm a yellow-green deck, I'm going to put this Hotshot in because I'm just going to smuggle it out.
If you're a blue deck, you can even run Tobias Beckett. And just like if you're upgrade heavy or event heavy, running him might be pretty good because his Smuggle is blue. He's blue-yellow. So if you build a blue-yellow Ray deck, he fits perfectly in
If you have red, you can throw out that Chewbacca.
Yeah. So Smuggle just adds a really interesting dynamic to the game. And you've got like cards like Timely Intervention that can add like a really nice thing. But those last couple I think we mentioned really cover off what is powerful about Smuggle in this set.
Yeah.
Hotshot DL to come out of nowhere and get some swings in. Cards like Cassian, again, to smuggle him out, he comes in ready. That can just win you games. I remember pre-releases and watching people and myself losing to just me being like, okay, I can do this, and they drop a Falcon. Yeah. And I'm like, whew.
And Cassian's going to be that Falcon of the set.
Cassian's going to be the Falcon of the set. So, well, let's talk bounties.
What are you
going to run
bounties.
if you see it?
If I see a bunch of bounties, I'll run a Bosk.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing else to do. And the bounties of pretty much every color are going to be fire with it. You get that blue bounty and you're healing 12 or something
Getting
ridiculous
shields.
like that, and you're getting 2 shields, and it's the ability to just outlast, which is really big in sealed environment. If you can just be like, I can't deal with that turn, but you know what? You can't kill me in time before I can deal with it. It is huge. If you get a few of those Rivals Falls, if you get a few of those kind of blue cards that can really do some damage.
Getting Dengar.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 bounties that stand out to me the most, even if you're not playing boss. That's the healing one, where you can heal from your base or a unit. Is it Death Mark, the one where lets you draw cards, because in sealed drawing can be pretty invaluable, and just being able to do that and remove at the same time is going to be huge. And then Bounty Hunter's Quarry.
Yeah.
That's so good.
In Bosk, that card will win you the game. Getting, yes, they're 3 costs, but getting 2 3 costs out for 1 is just wins.
That's nuts. Being able to play units for free or at a heavily discounted cost in every card game, I don't care what game you play, is bonkers.
Yeah.
Playing that in Bosk is nuts. Playing that in any other deck is good. Rewarding yourself for positive trading is so good.
Absolutely, and don't discount the
Get your Sundari Protector off of it.
Not as good in Bosk, but definitely good in something else would be the deal. The 2 cost bounty for yellow that when it's done essentially comes over to your side.
Yep. If you can kill something, that can just win you games as well off the back of that, because if you can put that onto something, and if you're able to pay 3 and get spare the target in the same deck as that, you bounce it, but hold on. I actually claim the bounty. Comes here, swing, goodbye. Yeah. Pretty wacky stuff. So those are some of the great bounty synergies in the set that I think work really well. And now a mechanic in Sealed that is, in my opinion, far superior to Constructed. It's Capture.
Absolutely. And Capture is primarily based in green. It spends a lot of its time there. And I think cards like the Veteran, that's the 5 cost, 4/5 Capture.
3/5.
3/5 Capture. The Law, the upgrade Law that captures.
Take Captive, the card with Obi-Wan on it.
Yep. I think all these cards are going to be really huge when someone's like, all right, my last chance, I'm going to tap 6, play my bomb, and you go, what if I, nope.
Take it. Another huge one, if you manage to pull it, rule with respect.
Oh, yeah,
your opponent swings 1 or 2 units at your base, and you rule with respect to them. That can be crippling in Sealed. That's nuts, especially with, and again, James said it, but you get our old mate, little Jabba's zookeeper boy, the Chevin Bacon. You get him out, and he I think you can just lock your opponent out of the game at that point by just swinging and taking and taking. Another couple of cards I think, or at least one other card that's really worth mentioning there is going to be the 3-cost. I think it's Relentless Pursuit. Cost 3. You capture a unit with a cost less than or equal to the guarding unit's cost, and if that unit's a bounty hunter, it gets a shield.
Yeah, absolutely
That's
huge.
Wild. With
And
Cad
talk
Bane,
about
that's pretty good.
and I want to talk about 2 leaders that we haven't really talked about yet, both of which are huge for their leader side and are extremely dangerous in ways where it doesn't really matter what deck you have. These 2 leaders both are just going to be dangerous as hell, and that is Hunter and Kylo.
Oh, yeah.
Both of these leaders are coming out absolutely swinging at your face.
Both deal 5 when they flip.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. Kylo is dirty. He gets that DL out.
Quick. He's just so quick.
He gets that DL out and just goes, no,
Boink.
7 at your base. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he goes, whoa, you said 3 woes. It's my turn again.
Yeah.
7 more, please.
You get armed to the teeth in that deck. It's wild.
Yeah.
And then just being able to utilize resources in alternative ways, like discarding cards you don't want to buff units you do. So Kylo, in my opinion, is going to be the Sabine of Sealed, where all the layer, where it's just coming out and he's just going to either beat you down to the ground, or you're going to run over him if he lets you get away with it. So it's one of those decks where if you are going to play Kylo, you need to be prepared, because you're either going to win quick or die fast. And I think that's just the way to live. But Hunter's one of those leaders where if you can live and you flip Hunter, well, how do they deal with it?
Oh, they can't. There's almost no way. The only way is the Rivals 4, which is barely even worth mentioning at this point. We know it, and Rivals 4 kills it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the 5/7 Vader stat line, we know how good Vader
5/8?
was. 5/8 Vader stat line. We know how good Vader was in in Sealed. We know how dangerous he was.
It was just like, if you didn't know what to play, you just played Vader. And you were just like, ping, 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 flip, here
you get a Marauder here, an Echo there, and suddenly you're laughing your way to...
Even just with the number of clone synergies, getting Omega in the deck is not even that bad. If you manage to pull maybe one of each of the batch, I'd run it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd run it and just be like, play 2 is my turn 1 play.
Speaking of bombs, Wrecker.
Oh.
You play green-red Hunter, you have him and Wrecker coming out, and there's going to be some problems for your opponent. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Yeah. Tell you that for free. That guy's nutso. Another in the red hero department, Poe. I struggle to see how people are going to deal with Poe in Sealed. If you can drop a Poe, I think you just immediately take control of that game.
Is Poe legendary?
He is.
Oh, good.
Thank God.
Oh,
right?
I thought I was like, is he legendary?
Could you imagine if he was rare?
Oh, good Lord.
I don't know why they would print that on a rare. Then again, we got Maul, so and Django.
And we got DJ.
Yeah.
Poe's fantastic. Poe's so
incredible.
good. And
damn, Moran.
Yeah. And the key there is you don't need to use his ability. You don't need to discard. But on those prime opportunities, you can.
I think it's one of those things where I would probably always discard the 1 in a lot of cases just to smack and deal 8 damage.
Yeah.
Speaking of discard, there's actually a lot of it in this.
It sure is.
In this set, and I actually don't think that's... I think that's something to keep an eye on. Honestly, pillaging in Sealed can be something that can win you the game. And then there's that 3-cost villain one.
Yeah, that is just
that
draw a
card,
card, your opponent discards the card for 3.
Reducing...
Fun fact, in Constructed, that's a trick.
Oh my God, that's so... Because it's when Jabba puts Luke down in the Rancor pit. That's
just so you know, for Constructed.
That is exciting, and you have piqued my interest, because now I kind of want to use Bib Fortuna and build a little hand discard.
A Bib Fortuna and a Jabba the Hutt and play it for 1.
Yeah, you could turn 2 pillage with that in Constructed.
Anyway,
but that's in Constructed.
I've been tinkering with that for a little while. We'll see where that goes eventually.
Like a lot of fun.
But yeah, absolutely. That card is nuts. Being able to draw a card, B, discard card. Oh, in 1 card. fantastic.
I think it's so important to recognize that while Spark of Rebellion was really good in Sealed, but it did come at the cost of you lose a card.
Yeah.
This doesn't come at that cost, and being able to reduce what, frankly, little resources your opponents already have in Sealed is huge. That's why I think Pillage is not actually a bad choice.
No.
Running 1 to 2 Pillage and just being on that pivotal turn, your opponent's got 3 cards, and you just go discard 2.
Yeah.
And they go, wow, okay, I have to discard either one of my plays this turn or both of my preparations for next turn if I want to feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
And then you can just put them in the position where if you planned it right, you just kill what they're going to play anyway. And that can put your opponent in a headspace where they just get demoralized and lose. So it's cards like that you got to really watch off the back of, because paying 3 in the mid to late game in Sealed and just going, hey, we each have 2 cards in our hand, discard 1, I'll draw 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those cards where you usually have, towards the late game of these Sealed events, you usually have resources to sink into things, and this is the perfect thing to just be like, all right, let's start this round off. Firstly, I'm going to just draw a card.
Yep.
Oh, also, you discard a card. Yep. I would be happy to just draw a card, but
hey,
let's get it in there.
I'm gonna make you feel the hurt. I give myself more options, and I give you less. Like, we've seen games in Constructed get to that point where around that 6 to 7 resource turn, most people have 2 to 3 cards in their hand. Being able, especially in Sealed, when I will guarantee you that they will have like 2 or 3 cards in hand. Being able to just go, hey, stop that, is going to be wild.
Absolutely. And that's, especially if you're versing something like a Kylo that's like, I'm going to discard some cards. You're like, all right, discard more. And they go, oh, no, wait, please, no.
True. Now, this set also introduces one other thing I want to talk about just before we cap off the episode. There's 2 cards. It is the Radar Analyst or the Radar Technician. The 2 cost 2/3 green. When you play it, you look at 3 resources and discard any Smuggle resources. That's gonna be really good in Sealed. It might sound really funny, but that's your turn 1 play.
Yeah, a lot of the time they'll throw a Smuggle card into their resources.
Because Smuggle's going to be incredibly common because we don't have that large constructed pool of about 600 cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have about less than 250 new cards. A lot of that is Smuggle in a lot of different colors, so you're a pretty safe bet if you first... And remember, that essentially amounts to that unit tapping resources when it comes in. So you pay 2, play it, look at both their resources. Well, if they're both Smuggle, they have 2 tap resources and get no turn 1 play. Yeah. That's crippling in Constructed.
It's very crippling and it's very rough, and I think that's definitely something that should be looked out for. As just a turn 1 play, and we know those are tight in these sorts of decks, but being able to just get a body out there, even if you miss with it, awesome, you still just have a body out there.
Yeah, it's a 2/3. Who cares? It's pretty great. Either it hits, and that can probably cause you to win the game, or it's a 2/3, and it's just a normal turn 1 play that's totally fine. And finally, Kira. If you pull the 4 cost 3/5 Kira, that lets you look at your opponent's hand, name a card, and make it cost more to play. Well, that's really good because they probably don't have a lot of options anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So being able to just go, you can't play this that turn, and it's sealed, so they probably can't play anything else.
Yeah, or they're playing something very mediocre, and you're like,
and you're like, cool. And then your opponent just has to be like, all right, well, I guess this is it.
Absolutely. The similar sense, Bazine does a similar thing where she goes, okay, that's going to be a play. Let's see how lucky you are.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. I mean, like, if you have enough Hunter's Quarries and enough Bazines, I saw this in a deck tech for a constructed Han deck, where you just Cobb Vanth turn 1 and then top 10 and get like a Bazine. Because you can play it for free. So just being able to do shenanigans like that.
Play it, and he just dies.
Yeah, so you play me just dies and you get to top 10 for your perfect turn 1 play. Is essentially... And Cobb Vanth, again, like branch off of that. He's incredible in Sealed. Being able to trade up and get value off of that is going to be nuts. But just something to think about in your Sealed deck.
That's pretty funny.
Just being able to be jank. And he works so well in Han because you can play him turn 1. And then you get your ideal turn 1 play. Because you get the pick of the litter from the top 10 cards. Yeah. You're not going to miss.
And if you're missing in your top 10 cards, what deck have you built?
You built your own. But you get to run Bazine.
Yeah.
And like play her for free.
I just played Kylo Slicer. That'd be the jankest deck. I love this idea
You're gonna
so
know
much.
what's coming up for gameplay now.
Green Han is gonna be so funny with that interaction.
Absolutely, it is.
Oh, that's so good.
I've started something that I cannot
Absolutely.
finish. Awesome. I am excited, sort of, to see what he builds. But I think like that just gives you a good idea as to what to expect and some bombs for this set. Anything else to add? Anything that comes to mind for some cards worth mentioning?
Nothing comes to mind. I think let's go. What do you think is going to be one of the most influential cards? Not leader. What card are you picking for like you see it and you're like, oh hell yeah. Not a legendary either.
Sundari Protector.
That is a very, very good choice. Mine is Covert Strength.
Oh, I mean like both of these cards are game changing, game winning, and in most of the decks we've talked about, highly, highly applicable. And I think if I get enough Sundari Protectors, I'm just gonna run, like that's gonna influence my choice pretty heavily.
If I get like 2 or 3,
oh my
God,
god,
like
oh my god.
Covert Strength, you know
Ew.
I'm playing that
Ew.
Gar Saxon.
Oh, god.
And obviously, if we pull a showcase, we're playing the showcase. It don't matter what else you pull.
Pulled my IG and was like, well, I guess I'm here now. And I did well. I went 3-1. I like, that was, like, so don't discount it. Like, in Sealed, literally let your dreams be real. Like, you don't let your memes be dreams, kids.
My favorite pre-release leader.
Uh-oh.
I don't know whether it's actually a thing or not. Showcase Vader. Is that like... Is that like... I don't know. We haven't confirmed.
They have confirmed that there will be showcases of Luke and Vader. And
I just don't know whether they confirmed it was in set.
yeah, the Mandalorian and Moff Gideon are in set, so that's very,
very exciting.
Shout out
Which
to
means you
anyone
can run Gideon and Mando in your draft.
You should
Just
be
pull the
really
showcase.
lucky. I feel like at that point they should just let people use them if they've got them.
I mean...
But, smoke them if you got them, I guess. But, I think, is there anything else you want to add?
Nothing else I want to add. I think
Great.
we're going to leave it there for this
Brilliant.
episode. Go to your locals. Go to your pre-release.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy
Have
yourself.
fun.
It's going to be a blast.
Get them cards.
We're keen. Check out the gameplay.
Go check it out.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.